So there are a ton of videos out there on how to compose the perfect shot, perfect exposure settings, camera settings, even the more philosophical kind of ideas about photography, like all manual versus aperture priority. So instead of adding to that list of videos, I wanted to share with you 5 things that I wish I knew as a beginner photographer sooner, and I want to share that with you so that you guys don't make the same mistakes. Tip number 1 is a very simple one, but that is just to make sure that you have comfortable shoes when you're out taking photos, especially if you're on a trip or on a vacation and you're visiting a city that you don't normally have access to, like a New York, a Chicago, London, Tokyo, Sydney, wherever you might happen to go. You want to make sure that you are able to maximize every single minute that you have in those places. And hypothetically, if you don't have the right shoes on and you know that there's a great photo opportunity maybe a block away or 2 blocks away, or heck, even across the street, but your feet are hurting so much that you either A, don't even want to get up to go take the photo at all, or B, you're walking slower than you normally would, you may miss out on the chance altogether. So just make sure that you invest in a good pair of proper walking or running shoes that have a lot of cushion. I promise you it's going to save your life. Well, not your life. You know what I mean. That was a little dramatic, but you know what I mean. Just invest in good shoes when you're walking 30, 40, 50,000 steps. I promise it's going to be worth it. Tip number 2 is actually what I consider a very underrated kind of soft skill in terms of being a street photographer specifically, and that is making sure that you have good people skills. So what I mean by that is, at some point, if you do this long enough, you will be approached by someone who is going to ask you what you're doing, and it's going to be your job to be able to respond in a way that is appropriate, let's say. So it could be as simple as something as, what are you doing taking pictures? You just, that's pretty self-explanatory. You just are able to look them in the eye and explain kind of what the situation is, that you're kind of a hobbyist, or even if you're a professional, whatever the case might be. But let's say you find a good composition and this person walks through and you happen to snap a photo of them. They notice and then they approach you. Why did you take a picture of me? Well, all of a sudden, that situation can go south a lot, has a higher chance of going south. So with that, what I have found is the best way to de-escalate those situations, especially if they seem uneasy or even just outright upset, is to, just like most things in life, just be honest and be upfront about what you're doing. I found this good composition. You just happened to walk through. What you were wearing complemented the scene very well. I just happened to take a picture. Offer to show them the picture. You're able to show them, like, hey, there's nothing kind of weird or creepy going on. This is just a really good picture. Here, take a look. A lot of the times that will be enough to kind of just de-escalate the situation, and then you both can move about your day. If that doesn't seem to work, offer to send them the picture. A lot of the time, just being upfront can kind of disarm them almost and kind of bring down the temperature a little bit so that you are able to kind of maneuver through that situation in a way where all parties are happy with the outcome. But offer to send it. If they have an email or an Instagram, you can send them the picture that way. But at the end of the day, options don't work for them and they're still upset. They're still uneasy. Just delete the picture. Just offer to delete it. Delete it right there in front of them, because no one picture is going to be worth you being upset that you were approached and that you were scolded or whatever. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be the one that upsets somebody else. That's not what I want to accomplish and put out there when I go out and take photos. So if none of the above work, just offer to delete it. Apologize, even though you're technically not doing anything wrong necessarily, depending on what part of the world that you're in. But our job is not to go out and upset people. So if that's going to be kind of the ultimate outcome, it's better not to ruin your own day and ruin somebody else's. Tip number 3 is an easy one, but it's a very vital and important one, and that is to just learn your camera. Make sure that you know what every single button does. Make sure that you know what every single setting does in the menu. Make sure that you know how to change from single point to zone focusing. Make sure you know how to go in and out of aperture priority if that's the way that you want to shoot. Our job as street photographers, obviously, is to capture the moment. And when you are out in typically an urban environment, of course, you're taking pictures of people that have unpredictable habits and unpredictable patterns. Our job is to just be always ready to snap that photo. And we can't do that, most effectively if we're too busy fumbling with the settings because we don't know exactly how to get in and out of certain situations in terms of, how we want to set up the camera. So make sure that you read the manual, make sure that you watch YouTube videos on your specific camera model. But at the end of the day, no amount of YouTube, watching and manual reading is going to go out and replace firsthand experience of just going out, messing with the settings yourself, making it a habit, making it muscle memory, and just going out and shooting photos. So make sure that you learn your camera inside and out. You should be able to change the settings without ever looking down. You should be able to change the settings blindfolded. Just make sure that you do that because you don't want to miss out on a great 10 out of 10 photo because you were messing with the settings and the moment passed you by. And tip number 4 actually ties into the one that we just talked about, and that is to make sure that you are able to anticipate the moment. So again, our job is to go out and kind of photograph the environment around us. And being able to anticipate that moment is vital to making sure that we're able to do that in the best way possible. So for example, let's say you're walking down the street, you see a background or a composition that would make a nice photo, and let's say hypothetically you see somebody coming from the opposite side, coming towards you from the opposite way. It's going to be our job to anticipate where that person is going to be by reading their body language and kind of their movements. If they seem like they're in a hurry, maybe they're more easygoing. But it's going to be our job to make sure that we put ourselves in position to be able to frame the photograph with that person walking through our composition. And the best way to do that, again, to tie it into the last tip, is to just make sure that you know your camera, you make sure you know how to set it up, and that you are able to kind of see things unfold even before they happen. By doing that, you're going to ensure that you have a higher chance every time that you go out to take photos of coming back with something that you're absolutely proud of. And finally, tip number 5 that I wish that I knew a lot sooner and that I made a lot of mistakes, as a beginner, is to make sure that you're just patient. When you are especially a newer photographer, maybe you got a new camera for the holidays, maybe you're dusting off an old one, or you're just going out and using your phone and you're full of enthusiasm and excitement and you want to go out and take pictures of absolutely everything, which is great. You should absolutely do that. But sometimes we get so caught up in the moment that we are not patient enough to be able to kind of work the scene. You're out, you're shooting, you find a good composition. Maybe it's the way the sunlight is flooding into this specific area. It's got some great natural contrast between the shadows and the lights. Maybe it's a reflective surface that would make kind of more a good kind of more abstract photograph, if that's kind of the look that you're going for. Whatever the case might be, a lot of the times as beginners, we are so in a hurry that we'll see the scene, we'll take a quick photo of whatever just happens to be in that composition or in that frame, and then we kind of move on with the day. And then when you go back to edit it or you go back to review it, you realize it's not all that it could have been. By just slowing down and realizing that it may take several minutes, it may take 5, 8, 10 minutes for that right subject to come through. That way you can snap the photo that you want. That way when you do go back home to take a look at it, that you are absolutely happy with what you've captured. And there you have it, guys. That is 5, tips or skills that I wish that I knew sooner, especially as a beginner street photographer. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing because I'm going to be dropping a lot more of these kind of tips and videos here in the near to mid future. I do appreciate you watching, and until next time, you guys take care.